Hey guys, Drifter here. Do you ever land and find yourself with very little more than an alternator, a Mozambique, and maybe a couple of grenades? You're stuck in the tunnels, you have to fight Caustic and all of his friends, and you're just going to have to make this work. Well, today I'm going to show you how to get the absolute most out of your Mozambique, which is a weapon that's so bad if I shoot somebody in the head twice while they're not even moving, they'll still beat you down just because the game gives you a penalty for holding the Mozambique. It's not the greatest weapon by any measure. So for today's guide, we're going to do some theory crafting on it. We're going to take a look at some of the numbers and stats and see if we can get a little bit more out of this weapon, because when you have the Mozambique in your hands, I don't want you to feel Mozambique about your future, like it's hopeless, like you can't do anything. And hopefully by the end of today's guides, we elevate you up to some sort of Prozambique plays, because it has a mathematically high DPS and some interesting handling attributes that no other weapon in the game has. So for a guy who does stat videos and gets nerdy about this kind of thing, it's probably the most theory craftable weapon in the entire game, even more so than the Havoc that can take multiple attachments. So when you land and only find a Mozambique and everybody's flooding into you and things get scary, I just want you to know that there's hope. You don't have to quit the game, you don't have to kill yourself, you don't have to just turn off your whole computer and uninstall Apex Legends. There is a way to win this fight. This weapon is a 3-pellet shotgun, firing 3 pellets at a time with 3 shells in the mag. Each one deals 15 damage, which will be 45 to the body or 66 to the head with a little multiplier right there. It'll deal a little bit less if you shoot them in the legs, but that's enough to 3-shot anybody that's not wearing purple armor. No range drop off, and interestingly, this weapon handles differently whether you hip fire it or when you aim down sights. So I shot 1 target hip fire and 1 aim down sights. On the hip fire target, you can see that all of my bullets essentially went around the center point. When I aim down sights, it tightened them up so that every single one actually hit the target. And this is a colossal improvement for the gun, and it allows you to get much more accurate shots at range than you would think possible, very long range headshots, and it gives you a better chance of getting a high damage hit. So I think you should aim down sights as much as possible, unless of course you're like point blank, then it's not necessary. And the Mozambique fires relatively quickly, even without a shotgun bolt, but you've only got 3 shots and the reload is slow, so I wouldn't go around spamming it everywhere. So now that the stats and handling is out of the way, you can see why the Mozambique is so interesting for theory crafting, because it has 2 fire modes, whether you aim down sights or hip fire. You can put shotgun bolts on it to modify the rate, and it's a very headshot dependent weapon with a theoretically high DPS. If you're just churning out those headshots, it can deal very significant damage and has reasonable pick potential. You can 3-shot anybody in the game that's not wearing purple armor, or 3 shots and a punch, you'll send them back to Mozambique. That being said, my basic advice for this weapon is to get a new weapon as soon as possible. Seriously, I'm doing the Mozambique guide today kind of as a joke and to help people that are absolutely desperate. This guide is for you in your darkest hour. It is not something that you should have to rely on a consistent basis, and don't bother trying to kit out the Mozambique. Oh, it'll be better if I put a purple bolt on it. Oh, it'll be better with the optics. No, it won't. It's still not a good gun. Get a P2020, get an alternator, get a G7. Almost anything is going to be better and more reliable. That being said, let's move on to some intermediate advice. The best way to use this weapon is at what I would describe as close to medium range, something about 10 to 15 meters, not point blank, because it's a little bit more difficult to track people that are jumping around you like a rabbit, and they can punch you to death faster than you can kill them with the Mozambique, especially if you're missing. However, if you fight them at medium range, preferably in a place where you can peek a corner or close a door and get some guaranteed good trades when they can't shoot you back around the corner, you can do really good damage and get some favorable trades, because you could be dealing up to 66 damage per shot. You want to aim down sights for every single shot at this range, and aim for the head as much as possible. Obviously, if they're up in your face, you can point, you can, hip fire them, but try to avoid it. And most importantly, don't spam your shots. Don't miss a single shot, because when you start reloading the Mozambique, everybody, they know you fired a Mozambique, they know what the gun sounds like, they see it in your hands, they know you're reloading it, they know you're helpless. That's when they're going to push super hard, and it's going to be really, really bad. So try super hard not to miss. And I know this seems like silly advice, like, oh yeah, just fight at optimal range, aim for the head, and don't miss. Perfect, great, awesome advice, Drifter. Well, if you want to get a little bit more advanced with it, if you have super good aim, like some Mendo Dizzy Shroud level aim, you can snipe people with this gun. In a way, the shotgun spread is incredibly tight, and even at 20 to 25 meters, you can pop people in the head relatively consistently. It's just that it's difficult. And I can do it in the practice range over and over again because I'm shooting dummies that aren't standing still, but in the real game with people that have goofy hitboxes and Wraith players running around like a bunch of Adderall-addicted rabbits thinking that they're Shroud, it's much harder to do it consistently, and I don't think it's a good idea. So hopefully, by the end of this video, you learned something about the Mozambique, and hopefully when you have your next scrappy landing at Skulltown and you're desperate and the Mozambique is the only weapon that you can find, you'll think back to this video and you'll know what to do to optimize your chances of winning. Guys, that's all for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.